A very good evening to you. This is TV47 Weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. And tonight we will be looking at the COVID-19 numbers and where Kenya stands at the moment. This is after a few days President Uhuru Kenyatta announced the lifting of the cessation of ban movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera counties. We shall also be having our Good Vibes segment, and I'll be speaking to our reporters Zainab Mohammed and Mwangi Maina on some of the positive stories they've been able to cover this week. But first, let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines on TV47 Weekend. A medical doctor is among 8 people who succumbed to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, even as the country records over 400 new coronavirus cases for the second consecutive day. Also tonight, we tell you of another kind of COVID-19 casualties. Tenants who cannot pay house rent due to massive job losses and are now in the cold due to unforgiving landlords. Plus, on Good Vibes tonight, we bring you the wonder story of a shoe shiner who cannot see but is revered by his customers nonetheless. And still on Good Vibes, we show you how a lady in Gong Town is recycling plastic bottles by using them to make furniture. A very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me on TV47 Weekend. My name is Mumbi Chege and our sign language interpreter tonight is Ann Wairimo. On to our top story. Findings of a recent study by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics released by Cabinet Secretary for Treasury Ukul Yatani yesterday indicated that 61% of Kenyans residing in rental houses were unable to pay their rent in time for the month of May due to the effects of the global pandemic COVID-19. Our reporter Calvin Chitwa met a family in Langa's estate who were evicted on Sunday last week by a landlord for failing to pay 1,000 monthly rent, and brings us the picture of the now distressed family.
We found them trying to pick up the pieces and arrange their belongings in their new single-roomed house. The house cannot accommodate the few things they salvaged after the eviction. A family that has found itself desperate after their father and mother, who are casual workers, lost their jobs. According to Lilian Njeri and her husband Joseph Kinyanjui, for the last 4 years they had never failed to pay rent until the outbreak of COVID-19 that saw them lose their jobs.
Kwa na hiyo pesa ya kulipa nyumba ndio vitu yetu akarusha nje zote, akafunja milango na madirisha.
Kwa nikilipa rent kama 1,000. Nilikuwa nimekaa hapa muda wa miaka 4. Hii mwaka ulikuwa mwaka wangu wa 4. Sasa mwenyewe kutaka kunikumambia anisikize nikitapata pesa, akasema hapana.
The house is small but they have no way out. Their 4 children, one who is an adolescent, all have to spend in this house. Right now they have no hope of getting jobs. Njeri used to do laundry work and many of her clients don't admit her in their homes now because of COVID-19.
Kwa nafanya kazi ya nyumba. Sasa uwezi ukaenda juu ya corona, uwezi ukaenda kwa uko kufanya kazi, unaambiwa hakuna.
Her husband used to do casual labor in Eldoret town, but currently the jobs are not easy to find. Nick Omito from Center for Human Rights and Mediation blames the rent tribunal and the police for not helping tenants who are evicted without notices.
The rent tribunal wakuwe proactive, waingilie maneno ya manyumba, kwa sababu kuna ile sheria ya cost and annoyance to a tenant. Ni inabidi wakati hao watu wanapoenda kwa polisi watume kwa land tribunal wachukue hayo malalamishi na hao landlords wapeleke kotini. Kuna vile landlords wataachiwa wao wakifukuza watu kiolela kwa manyumba zao, wakifukuza hata na watoto wadogo nje, watoto wachanga, kwa sababu ya deni ambayo shida kila mtu anaelewa ni hii corona.
He says the cases have been on the rise at their organization in the recent past. The officer commanding Police Division Yamumbi, James Kitua, confirmed Friday that they had arrested the landlord Andrew Moya Nyataya, who evicted the Kinyanjuis and will be arraigned in court on Monday. Calvin Chitwa, TV47, was in Gishu County.
And a heated debate ensued between members of parliament, civil societies and church leaders during the public participation process over the controversial Health Bill of 2019 authored by Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika. The civil societies want some clauses amended, claiming that the bill is out to legalize abortion, while women leaders insist that women should be accorded rights to choose when to be mothers. Elizabeth Mutuku attended the session and filed the following report.
Major questions linger over when it's the right time for a woman to procure abortion. A question which has raised a lot of controversial answers and more questions from different stakeholders in the country. On a bill prepared by Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika that proposes women to procure abortion on the following basis: if they aren't ready for motherhood, when their life is in danger, or by recommendations of a doctor.
Again, when I said that I am not withdrawing the bill but looking to get a better consensus, what I'm trying to say is I don't want also you coming to the table thinking that I must withdraw the bill for us to proceed.
The civil society groups led by Advocate Charles Kanchama, presenting their views Friday, say the motive to have the bill passed will see legalization of abortion in the country, which is against our culture and constitution.
The terminology and safe abortion as if there is some that is safe. It would be the same way we cannot say safe murder. You can't say safe murder because all murder has a victim. So we have to use a different terminology because we want to secure the health of the two patients.
Some Kenyans feel like we need to give people who do unsafe abortions the right to abort, but they don't know what women go through after that abortion. And that's why we need to educate people to understand what post-abortion distress or trauma is, so that they don't even begin to go that direction, so that we take care of our sexuality first.
I see your passion, I see your intention, and it is a good one. But if we do not orientate this bill to be family friendly, then it is going to be a major problem. So my request is that we withdraw the bill and go back to the drawing table. We'll be able to discuss some of these things and come out with something that would be good for the country.
Previously, Suba North Member of Parliament Millie Odhiambo and nominated Senator Judith Sijeni had presented a similar motion, which was shot down. Now Kihika saying she has a task to whip members to support her motion.
I was an adolescent at 11, up to 18 years, in a pool of blood every month. And every time I went into hospital, especially by the time I went into university, raised in Christian standards, not sexually active, every month I was told I've aborted. Who will protect my voice to not be declared a person who is aborting because I am only going through what every other woman is suffering from?
Apart from the controversial abortion section, the bill is targeting to legalize men and women to donate sperms to their infertile fellows by sharing their sperms freely without any financial benefits. If one accepts to donate sperms, will give the following details: names, where they reside, tribe, and written consent that will not claim the child after they are born.
I propose you amend clause 26 and you delete subclause 2. Why? I thought when you look at that subclause, again it's a very broad and very subjective clause, which then would allow what we call abortion on demand, which personally I don't believe in that philosophy, because that child, unborn child, is a human being.
Suba North Member of Parliament Millie Odhiambo, who has faced discrimination over her lack of children, now says it's time to have a law protecting women's rights and give them opportunity to be mothers through this process.
God brought me in this parliament at such a time as this that we pass a law to help women who can't naturally have assisted reproduction. If you look at the book of Genesis, Sarah had a child through assisted reproduction before God remembered her at 100 years. I know God will not remember me at 100 years, and I would not want God to remember me at 100 years.
Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Now, a project by a team of digital historians excavating former prison sites around Kenya and building 3D models online has shed light on British repression during the Mau Mau rebellion. The work comes amid a global push to re-examine history as activists topple colonial-era statues and museums work to ensure voices of the oppressed are heard. David Mudhoka now reports.
You spoke very, very well, Koya.
We meet digital historian Chow Tayana Maina alongside her grandfather Daniel Sindio. To Chow, the quest to reincarnate colonial oppression, specifically meted on Mau Mau fighters in the country, is a personal one. Her grandparents were among the thousands of victims, most of whom suffer silently amid the scars from the brutal colonial rule of the British. Her grandfather Daniel, while at only 16 years old, saw the then oppressors take away his wife, who was detained for more than 7 years. Chow takes her grandfather through 3D images of what were once camps for detainees, most of whom were members of the Mau Mau movement, but she raises concern on the efforts done so far to keep their memories alive.
I grew up in Kenya. I've been through public education system, public schools, and not once do I remember hearing about detention camps, especially in the gravity in which they existed in the country.
This building in Nyeri was once a detention camp, but now thousands of young girls have since been streaming through its gates to quench their education thirst. This group of Kenyan and British historians, led by 26-year-old Chow Maina, have taken up the mantle to establish an online museum to preserve the memories digitally for the sake of future generations.
There's a sense of betrayal in the sense that I didn't understand how this was not taught and how this was not something that we came across as kids, but also we came across in our education system.
With the fight against the British rule in the country gathering steam in the 1950s, tens of thousands found themselves locked up in detainment camps. Thousands died, with the rest surviving to paint the grim pictures. Among the survivors is Gitu Wakahengeri, now Secretary General of the Mau Mau War Veteran Association. Nearing 100 years, Gitu Wakahengeri clearly remembers the day when, as a prisoner of Kenya's colonial occupier Britain, he wanted to die.
At one stage of my life in detention, I was beaten the whole day until I did not feel pain any longer. And then when I was taken back to the camp where I was living, I prayed, God, can you let me die so that I cannot go back to that place tomorrow to be beaten the way I was beaten today. But unfortunately, I did not die. I woke.
If anybody collapsed, that's none of your business. If anybody died there, too bad. But it was a very, very cruel time on the detainees.
We have neglected or silenced certain voices, and that the foundations of our country or us as a society are incomplete if we do not address certain things.
Founded in 2018, the online museum is getting a second lease of life from the Black Lives Matter movement, catalyzed in part by the May 25th death of George Floyd in U.S. police custody and its questioning of official versions of history. David Mudhoka, TV47, Nairobi.
And it's a tough time for residents who live and work within the Malindi dam site, as they too have been ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. Their source of livelihood, which was waste from the tourism sector, has now been disrupted and they can no longer meet their basic needs. Nancy Kimwe reports on this and more in our news roundup tonight.
Life for them has now become a delicate balancing act. Braving by the bad odor and flies, the residents here are hoping against hope that garbage, which is their primary source of income, will be available. They have become dependent on well-wishers for their daily needs. The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chairman Kilifi County Majid Swale say they are pushing for a recycling plant project at the dump site so as to create employment opportunities for those who depend on the dump site and at the same time conserve the environment.
Na lengo kubwa hili tunalofanya, tunajua watu wengi wamefutwa makazi. Si hawa peke yao, hawa wana depend kweli kwa hotels na chakula kinatupa. Lakini kuna watu wengi sana wamekosa makazi. Na hiyo kosa makazi ndio sisi tumefikiria kwa kama hatutaweza ku lend a hand, crime zitazidi.
Tomorrow they are starved of a decent living. The question remaining, will the narrative be changed? Elsewhere, desperation for jobs among youths under the Kazi Mtaani initiative, which was launched by the President Uhuru Kenyatta, has continued to cause a spat between youths and the provisional administration in Nakuru County. According to the youth, it had been agreed that they would work in cohorts interchangeably after every 2 months, but this has not been adhered to. The angry youth accused the local chiefs of not being considerate, seeing that the area has a high number of unemployed youths who are now banking on the program for survival. The youth now claim there could be more than meets the eye, as the job positions have been turned into a family affair.
Kazi kwa vijana imekuwa ni ya kifamilia. Unakuta kwa nyumba moja iko watu 5, mama, baba na mtoto watoto wameandikwa kazi.
And in Kitale, it is the same script, different cast, as residents of Falkland streets in the area are complaining that the Kazi Mtaani project has not yet reached their vicinity. The project, which is expected to be launched officially this Monday in Trans Nzoia County, has stirred mixed reactions among the youth in informal settlements.
It will be unfair President useme Kazi Mtaani na sisi wana Trans Nzoia, Falkland. Even rais hapa, even rais marehemu Daniel Toroticha Arap Moi alikuja Islamu hii anaijua, na Islamu inajulikana kila mahali.
Reporting for TV47, I'm Nancy Kimuyu.
And on matters Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has urged universities and colleges to ensure that they have sufficient water, sanitizers and masks for all students and teachers before reopening of schools. While inspecting Mosoriot Teachers Training College in Nandi County, Professor Magoha emphasized schools that will not have met the given conditions will not be allowed to reopen, urging all Kenyans to take personal responsibility in the fight against COVID-19.
That we are sure that the protocols that are required by the WHO, Ministry of Health, and by extension us have been adhered to. There are issues that they must meet before we allow them to open, because most likely COVID is going to go to the children from the kitchen. Are we together? Because when you prepare food, there are so many things you do with the food, and you touch the food all the time, and then you have to give the food to somebody. So we want that kitchen to be clean. Tiling is very cheap. I think it can be done. In Kiambu, Odera, it was done in 24 hours. It was done in 24 hours. These people are just not serious. It was done in 24 hours. It can be done if you want to do it. If you decide, for example, your council, your board decides that you want to do tiling, by Monday it will be done, complete. That's how simple it is. So those are the minimums, and then the provision of additional water points and sanitizers are not negotiable.
Thank you for staying with TV47 Weekend. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with much more. Welcome back on TV47 Weekend. Now, residents of Vybes sub-county in Trans Nzoia are protesting over the poor state of a diversion road set by a Chinese contractor who's developing a highway leading to Uganda. Boniface Baraza toured the region and prepared the following report.
The construction of the Kitale-Swam Highway was welcomed by residents of Vybes who saw it a lasting solution to the earlier muddy road that connects to Uganda. This has not, however, been the case, as Eliud Wanjala, who is a bodaboda rider, explains.
Ukienda town, ukitoka Vybes unatumia dakika kama 20. Saizi unachukua masaa 2.5. Barabara imekuwa mbaya, tunakwama kwa barabara. Haya, polisi wako pale wanangoja shilingi 50. Sasa wewe unangangana na matope, umeanguka, unafika pale polisi anakuitia shilingi 50.
Gharama iko juu, unalipa 300, unaenda kurudi, sasa unachanganyikiwa. Sasa utafanya kazi ama utalipa gharama ya pikipiki, unakwama kwa matope, hata unaanguka. Angalia vile nimefanana kambu, tunaanguka.
Hata sisi ambao tunakucha kazi saizi hatuwezi tukafika mapema, ni kwa sababu hata diversion peke yake ni shida. Unatoka kwa nyumba huko sawa, kufika hapa umeumia, unaponiangalia nimechafuka, lakini nimekucha kazi.
The diversion is impossible due to heavy rains being witnessed in the region, with farmers and traders finding it tough while transporting their commodities to the market. Albert Gumo is a farmer and businessman in the area.
Wakulima wamepata shida sana, wakija hapa hata kama wiki iliyopita kulikuwa na gari hapa ilikuwa inapita na vegetables, cabbage yote ikamwagika barabarani. Sasa hiyo ni hasara kubwa kwa wakulima kwa sababu ya mvua, na barabara ni mbaya kabisa. Tunaomba serikali tafadhali tusaidie na hii barabara, tuhakikishe ya kwamba maisha yetu yanaendelea sawa sawa.
They have apportioned blame on the Chinese contractor who is constructing the highway, saying he has failed to develop the diversion road to serve them in the meantime. Henry Olindema is former Trans Nzoia County Senator.
Naona yule contractor amepewa kazi, afanyi kazi ipasavyo, kwa sababu wakati unapofanya diversion ama kufunga barabara, haweki sign yoyote ya kuonyesha barabara imefungwa, kuelekeza madereva watapita namna gani.
Kuzi James Masharia, tunashukuru ulituletea hii kazi ambayo tumeiona, lakini sasa kazi yenyewe imekuwa ni kama janga kwetu. Wewe mwenyewe fika Vybes. Vybes ni Kenya. Vybes haiko katika nchi jirani. Fika wewe mwenyewe udhadimini hali ya usafiri ulivyo sasa katika Vybes.
Mr. Olindema, however, said the completion of the construction of the road will bring about a conducive environment for the growth of the region's economy owing to its proximity to the neighboring Uganda.
Nashukuru serikali kwa sababu barabara hii ikitengenezwa itaunganisha nchi hii na nchi ya Uganda, na pande ya Uganda wakitengeneza pia inaweza hata kuwa shortcut ya kuelekea hata nchi ya Sudan kama ikipangwa vilivyo.
The 45-kilometer road is being constructed courtesy of financial support from the African Development Bank in conjunction with the Kenyan government at the tune of 4.5 billion shillings.
As locals anticipate for better roads, it remains a dilemma for how long will it take for this road construction to be completed. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Kitale-Swam Road in Trans Nzoia County.
Now, as coronavirus pandemic continues to stall several activities, the healthcare workers continue to be at the highest risk. One doctor has died from contracting the deadly virus in the line of duty. Now, during the daily COVID-19 report by Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, he said that Kenya has reported 473 new cases after testing a sample of 6,979 in the last 24 hours. Joash Onsare now reports.
Every one of us must play a significant role if we are to stop the spread of this disease in our communities. The motivation to play such a role should be an inner drive within every individual, without expecting the government to force you to do so.
These are the words that Kenyans hear every time the government comes out to announce the daily updates on COVID-19. And as COVID-19 numbers continue to escalate daily since the lifting of cessation, unfortunately, one doctor has succumbed to the virus.
We have today for the first time lost a medical doctor to the coronavirus disease. I'm deeply saddened by this particularly so because she contracted the virus while working to save lives of others who had contracted the virus. She was admitted at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, from where she passed on early this morning after having been hospitalized on Monday night.
During the daily update on coronavirus, LCS Mutai Kagwe, while in Kilifi County inspecting the county prepared in combating COVID-19, announced 473 new cases, which is the highest number reported in a single day, which brings to the national tally to 9,448 cases.
October sample of 6,979, nearly 7,000, a total of 473 people have tested positive to coronavirus disease just in the last 24 hours. This takes our caseload to 9,448 for the positive cases from a sample of 2,006,584.
Out of today's confirmed cases, the county of Nairobi recorded 316 cases, Mombasa 43 cases, Kiambu 25, Machakos 23 cases.
From today's positive cases, Kilifi County has 3 more, bringing the county level caseload to 71. In terms of gender, once again, 324 are male, while 149 are female.
As the places of worship prepare to resume normalcy, the LCS Mutai Kagwe has asked Kenyans who have underlying conditions to worship from home.
Sana sana ukiwa na diabetes na uwe vile vile uko na miaka ya kutoka 60 kwenda juu na uko na diabetes, afadhali uombee nyumbani. Afadhali uombee nyumbani kwa sababu Mungu atakusikia. Hata ukiwa nyumbani, hata ukiwa, Mungu yuko kila pahali.
On Friday, 8 patients lost their lives, which brings to the COVID-19 death toll to 181 nationally. 76 others have recovered in the last 24 hours, which brings to total recoveries to 2,733. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
And Mbeere South Member of Parliament Geoffrey Kingangi has rubbished a report that named him as one of the 19 legislators who have never uttered a word on the floor of Parliament. And as William Wige reports, the MP has termed the 3rd annual parliamentary scorecard for the 3rd session of the 12th Parliament released by Mzalendo Trust as a witch hunt.
Mbeere South Member of Parliament has strongly refuted a report recently released by Mzalendo Trust, ranking him among the legislators who have performed dismally in the floor of the House. According to the Mzalendo Trust report, Kingangi was among 19 legislators who uttered nothing in Parliament. He decried the method used in assessing the performance of MPs based on their contribution on the floor of the House.
Huwezi kuongea hivi hivi tu, unaongea vitu ambayo iko relevant to your job. Kwa hivyo mambo ya kusambaza kwamba hatujafanya kazi kwanza si ya ukweli. Hiyo Nziru amesema aende kwa website ya Parliament, ukweli iko pale. Kwa hivyo hakuna haja kubishana na hiyo.
The legislator, while speaking to the press, expressed concern that assessment based on one's contribution can be misleading, since being vocal in Parliament does not translate to performance on the ground. He said the role of MPs is to represent the electorates who elected them, especially in matters of development, and play an oversight role in Parliament to ensure the government delivers to the citizens. MPs also have a key role in legislation.
Unaongea when it is relevant. Kucomment tu kila wakati unataka kucomment kwa kitu si kumaanisha kwamba unafanya kazi. You actually sometimes not being relevant. Kwa ground ni tofauti. Kuna wengine waongei sana, wanaongea wakati iko necessary. Lakini kwa ground mambo yanaendelea vizuri. Kwa hivyo,
however, a section of Embu residents have a divergent opinion on mode of ranking legislators by their contribution on the floor of the August House.
Wachagua waenda kwa bunge, wawasilisha mahitaji yetu na waongee. Unaona? Wasipoongea pale bunge, sisi our expectations are not being met.
Mambo ya kuongea na kufanya kazi ni tofauti sana. Ukiona wale MPs wanaongeanga sana huko bunge, ukienda maeneo bunge yao, hakuna kazi inafanyika, ya just echoing huko kwa bunge.
Ukiona mheshimiwa wetu ameongea, ninashukuru sana, ninafurahi sababu anatuelimisha na ninaona kure yangu haikupotea.
Lakini ile kitu ya maana mwananchi anataka ni maendeleo. Wengine wanaongea sana huko mbunge, lakini kwa matumizi ya pesa yao ya mimbi ya CDF, hawatumii vizuri.
Ni vizuri pia tupeane credit mahali nafaa. Mimi naweza sema MP amefanya kazi yake kulingana na ile ameachiwa na national government.
For TV47, I am Moige William.
Thank you once again for keeping it here on TV47 Weekend with me, Mombi Chege. And remember, tonight we have our Good Vibes segment, and already in the studio is Mwangi Maina and Zainab Mohammed, our reporters, who will be telling us more about the stories, the positive stories they've been able to cover this week, or today rather. But for now, let's take a short break.
Well, good evening. It has been over a month of bringing you good vibes here on TV47 every Friday with Linda Lela and a host of reporters here in studio. But tonight we are bringing you another new anchor by the name Mombi Chege, who will be joining us every Friday for the good vibes. Today in studio we are having Mombi Chege and of course Zainab Mohammed and I, where we shall be telling you the stories that we have prepared for you, good vibes. And for me today I'm bringing you a story on two men living with disabilities, or rather they are living with disability. One is an amputee and another one is a blind man. Both of them are shoe shiners in the Nairobi CBD, and I sat down with them and filed this story for you. Take a look. In most parts of the country, and especially here in the Nairobi city center, you will find many people living with disabilities begging. This is a lifestyle on a day-to-day basis. But for two men living with disabilities, they have set standards. They are shoe shiners right here in the city center. Here is a story. This is Good Vibes. Behind the Kenya Cinema building in Nairobi meet 67-year-old Julius Murago and 53-year-old Josephat Wainaina, a father of 5 children. Both of them hail from Murang'a County, but they reside in Dandora and Babadogo slums respectively. This has been their office for quite a while. Here they get their daily bread as breadwinners in their families. They are shoe shiners. From afar, it is not easy to know that these men are living with disabilities. Their smiles probably cover up their part of sorrows. Josephat Wainaina is a blind man, while Julius Murago is an amputee. I had a sit down with them to hear their story.
Kuzaliwa nimezaliwa Murang'a na nilizaliwa tu nikiwa na shida hii ya macho, ingawa nilikuwa ninaona beleni kabla haijakuja kupotea kabisa.
Wainaina says he contemplated committing suicide after losing his eyesight, but after meeting with people living with more complicated disabilities, he gained confidence that his case was not as extreme as he thought.
Akili zangu ilinionyesha tu kujiua. Nikaona ni kama nimefika mwisho. Kwa maana niliteseka muda wa miezi 3 kwa nyumba, na tulikuwa tunaishi na ndugu yangu, na hakuna hata rafiki niliweza kuona. Kwa hivyo jambo la kwanza nikagundua mtu anakuwaga na marafiki kwa sababu anajiweza. Kwa hivyo kama hujiwezi, hauwezi kuwa na marafiki, kwa maana wanaona utakuwa sumbua.
On moving to Nairobi in 1998, he began a shoe shining business, which he says was not a walk in the park, bearing in mind that he cannot see. Many look down on him to the extent of refusing their shoes being shined by a blind man.
Hii kazi nilianza upande wa huruma, na watu walikuwa wanashangaa sana na kushindwa ni vile nafanya kazi. Na kwa sababu nilikuwa pale na rafiki yangu mwingine, nilikuwa naweka rangi zangu alama. Kwa hivyo ule rafiki yangu alikuwa akuje animulize kiatu kala yake ni gani, na nikawa na hiyo ujasiri.
He says up to date, not so many people return to his shoe shining stand once they realize that he is blind and cannot see anything. To him, he depends on his internal eyesight.
Nikiwa peke yangu juu sometime ninakuwa peke yangu, kuna customers wengine huwa wanapita. Juu anakuja anasimama ananiangalia, anaona ni kama sina shughuli na yeye, anaondoka. Wengine nao kulingana na mawazo yao, kwa maana anaona huoni, hawezi akaamini ya kwamba unaweza fanya kazi mzuri. Hata umufanyie kazi mzuri, bado kwa sababu mawazo yake ilimuonyesha huwezi fanya kazi mzuri, hawezi akawa ameridhika.
His counterpart Julius Murago says he was a driver before he got involved in a grisly road accident that left him with only one leg.
Tulipigana na gari ya decoration na kwenda hospitali, kutoka niko na mguu mmoja. Nikajiuliza sasa mimi nitafanya kazi gani sasa, lakini sasa nafurahia Mungu kwa sababu nilikubali vile aliona ndio mzuri.
He says life did not stop at that. He had to accept his condition and got his life moving.
Sasa nikaanza kazi ya switi kwanza, halafu nikagojeka tena, nikaenda nyumbani, kwenda nyumbani nikarudi tena hapa. Nikauliza vile naweza tena nafanya. Ndio nilianza hii kazi ya China.
He alludes that despite coming from the same county with Wainaina, they did not know each other. Fate brought them together.
Sasa hii kazi tunaifanya kuna kusaidiana. Yeye hata hivi wanasema ananiuliza na mimi namwambia.
We wanted to see how well Wainaina does his shoe shining. He worked on my shoes. It is something he's used to. I asked him how he differentiates black shoes from other shades.
Nishashika na mkono, hiyo najua hiyo kiatu ni design gani. Na pia ninajua huko kwa sole sana ndio kuna kuwaga na ile uchafu mingi. Kwa hivyo nikiosha lazima nihakikisha huko kwa sole katikati ya kushikanisha gozi na sole nihakikisha nimeosha vizuri.
They say they go through a myriad of problems, but this does not stop them. They share a piece of their mind with fellow people living with disabilities.
Mimi hata tukienda nyumbani mimi nalima. Hata nikiwa tu namna hiyo, nachukua mato kikubwa, nalima. Hata watu kwetu nyumbani hawezi kusema ati huyu ni mlemavu, hapana. Na yeye ndio naweza kusema kwanza ukubali vile Mungu aliona yeye ndio mzuri, yeye anaona hiyo ndio mzuri, na Mungu ndio alafu aanze maisha ingine na hata kuachilia.
To them, disability is just a word.
In less than 5 minutes, Mr. Wainaina has finished polishing my shoes. They are sparkling clean. He is a testament that disability is not inability, and he is an epitome to people living with disabilities. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Wow, it is a tale of a Josephat and a Julius, two men living with disabilities, one an amputee, another one a blind man. Zainab, you can imagine a blind man polishing your shoes, and then you're like, ukienda anakuuliza which color is your shoes. How would you take it? What do you make of this story?
I mean, I was watching the story and I was wondering, for one, I mean, it's one profession where one actually needs, or so I think, one needs their eyesight to actually see what they're doing, to see whether or not the shoes is clean, whether it's white, whether it's black. How does that even work, Mwangi?
You know, when I went and I sat down on that chair, and you know, he was telling it. Actually, what he did first of all, he just touched on my shoes, and then I think that at that time he was trying to identify what make is my shoe, which color is it, just by touching, and then I was like, okay, he's using the inner light, maybe we would say that, and I think it's just a testament that disability is not inability. And Mumbi, I don't know what you make of these two men.
Mwangi Maina, you're right. I couldn't have used better words. Inability, disability is not inability. And you know, just you covered this story, and I'm sure there are people who are passing by.
Exactly, yeah, sure.
And a lot of people, maybe the perception, especially the blind guy, he maybe ever mentioned that some people would think he's faking blindness to fake sympathy, because it's not every day you meet a blind guy who's actually doing that sort of work, and most of them actually end up becoming beggars because you know, seeking sympathy, they're helpless. So it's really, really interesting, Mwangi, to see somebody, you know, I don't know if that's not positivity, I don't know what is.
I mean, it's so impressive, and just like you said, there's so many of them on the streets. Not sorry to say of them, because that sounds sorry. Yes, but I mean, guys, people with disability who are on the road, who are acting like they're helpless, who are acting like they cannot do anything for themselves except begging. So for this guy, I think is an inspiration. It's super impressive, and I was watching the story and I was wowed. But one aspect, just one aspect. I mean, Mwangi Maina, all the stories that you do. Last week, I think you were being shaved at that barber shop.
He's just getting services.
And now today you're here being
services for free.
Your shoes are being
And I think that's the whole reason why we're having good vibes.
Are you going to go to the next the story of next week and get a suit for yourself? I mean, I'm just wondering. Yeah,
I think that's the whole reason why we're having good vibes.
Good vibes.
Last week we were in Mlango Kubwa celebrating youths and what they are doing. Today we are celebrating these two men living with disabilities. And therefore I think I'm not an opportunist, but I think it's a need to ni form imejipa, and so you just have to take it when it comes.
I think I should learn from Mwangi.
Thank you so much, Zainab and Mwangi. Mwangi, that was an amazing story. That's really you know, inspirational. Thank you for that. Let's move on to Zainab's story. Tell us, what was your story about?
So my story is about two conservationists from worlds apart. One one group is from Kibera and the other group is from Ngong Hills. But both of these conservationists, or both of these groups, are doing their best in making the world a better place. So I mean, take a look. In the wee hours of the morning, we maneuver through the narrow alleys of Kibera slum. The roads are muddy, and there's a strong stench of sewer that hits you as you gain entry into the slums. We meet Nyabuti Gesore, founder and chairperson of a conservationist youth group in Kibera called Slums Going Green. Gesore is a passionate conservationist. He, together with his 12 friends, have come up with an innovation that reuses old plastic bottles to build houses.
So we came here, we talked to the caretaker of around here, Barak, and then we started now collecting the bottles. So tuka collect bottles around, alafu tukakam nazo. Then we talked with other people wenye wanachimba barabara wakatuletea mchanga. So from there tunaingisha mchanga kwa bottle, then we seal, alafu we come with it inside hapa. And then after ishae kwa hapa, sasa kuna hii kutengeneza, venye wanatengeneza. So we mix the red soil, alafu tunaziunganisha. So the idea, hii mchanga ikiwa hivi na bottles, itakuwa so cool inside, alafu itakuwa giza. And then we will be planting something like passion, hizi meandering plants.
According to Gesure, the hard times brought about by COVID-19 sparked the innovation that has now saved many of its members from plunging into vices such as crime and drugs.
As youths, tuna watu wote, they need, let's say, something to motivate them. Sunaelewa. Na hiyo something, it cannot be, hatuwezi sema ni do tu kila siku, but it can be something and it will motivate tomorrow so that it can come. So,
ukiona kuku ya mtu hapo na inyonga, unaenda unapewa 500 wako na kula. Ukiona kate napo unaanua kitu tu kidogo, bora tu ukule.
He, however, says the success of the project is not without its challenges.
This is a dump site by there. So if you can see, unaona, hii ni mchanga yenye tuliweka, alafu hii ni ile yenye iko hapa. Ile ya dump site yenye kutolewa, alafu hapa ni ground. So hapa even the ground level.
As the authorities are now on their backs, claiming the land that was formerly a dump site and cleaned up by the group is supposedly owned by the Kenya Railways.
Like a confrontation with the local authorities, then they had to bring this house down. So aravu mnaona hivi ilikuwa ishaangushwa literally, so tuna rebuild tu sasa hivi imekuja.
Gesore father says lack of resources and proper technical know-how has rendered them helpless as they risk health hazards and worse, contracting COVID-19.
Hatuna inaitwaje equipment, gears, literally tunaanza tu, unaona, na we don't have any support, we are on our own.
The group is, however, hopeful that come the end of this project, they will be able to benefit immensely by not only making an income for themselves, but also to make the world a better place. But they are not alone. On the chilly foothills of Ngong Hills lives Damaris Laichena, a construction expert, an interior designer, and a passionate conservationist. She too reuses plastic water bottles to make home furniture such as chairs, coffee tables, and even flower vases.
And like 3 inches from the bottom are not touched, so that this one becomes the base of this flower pot.
Damaris says her construction business was affected by COVID-19 pandemic, and equally an inspiration spiked from being idle at home.
Okay, what actually caused that hunch to do plastic bottle things, things made of plastic bottles, nearly to the hunch I have to sort out issues. I saw a problem and I'm looking for a solution.
And just like that, she made a seat that she sold at about 6,000 Kenyan shillings, making herself a profit of about 4,000 Kenyan shillings. But how does she make her designs using water bottles?
Then make sure that the bottle is not pressed. Then you insert this one, making sure that the bottle top touches at the center. Then you come with a full bottle. You insert it, making sure that it touches the other one. You cut another bottle. The same size to make sure that you have the desired length, so that one will not be longer than the other one. You insert, making sure that it touches the bottom, the center bottom. Then you insert. This is the design size that I have made. This is how I have made it. But you can make so many insertions like until you get the highest level.
We questioned the firmness of the designs to withhold different weights, but Damaris says she has faith in her work as she uses construction expertise in balancing the bottles.
You can't unless you are acrophobic.
At a time when many are feeling the hard-hitting effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, these conservationists are a sign of hope. Hope that all is not lost, and when life gives you lemon, make lemonades. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed. Mwangi Maina, I saw you smiling. Comment kindly. I'm waiting for your comment.
I saw you standing on those bottles and I can imagine your weight. And so
oh wow, did you just say my weight on air?
Zainab, allow me to finish.
Did you just say my weight on air? Really?
It goes without saying that that is a very strong seat. So if you can see Zainab is standing on top of those bottles, it means that the stamina is just out of this world. And I think whatever she's doing, that lady, she's doing work that is commendable. Environment conservation, I think we have had problems with waste disposal, and especially when we come to matters plastic. I think it is an environmental menace, and whatever those youths in Mathare are doing, and whatever these other ladies doing, you know, seeing how with those tools of work, the hacksaw, the scissors, and the energy and the vigor she's putting in doing that work, I think it's out of this world.
And don't forget about the youth group in Kibra. They're doing amazing as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Making the slums to go green in as much as they are conserving the environment. I think whatever we are doing, even as a station, I think this is the home of the untold stories.
Right.
And I believe whatever the people are doing, either or in the slums or in other areas, definitely that's a vibe.
Yes, Mwangi Maina, you're very right. And what I'm thinking is that sometimes we think about such innovations like the use of plastic as things of lower quality. But if you look at Western countries, when the products, you know, that are eco-friendly are termed as, you know, something positive by consumers. So I also think we need to change our way of thinking, embrace such innovation. And also I can just imagine the number of jobs that will be created. And, you know, the government has been talking about, you know, the housing project in the country. Maybe these are some things that they need to incorporate. And as well as, you know, Zainab, you mentioned in your story that these are reformed youths. So we need to come up with ways that will create jobs as well as conserve our environment. So we need to be positive about that.
Maybe I point out a few things from my story. From, first of all, both innovations, the both parties were saying, or both interviewees were saying that this innovation sparked from being at home, from the COVID-19, from losing jobs, from things going bad. So I mean, it's at least a light at the end of the tunnel that even though that it's a bad time during this COVID, and a lot of people are feeling the effects of COVID-19, at least there are good things that are coming out of it. So people are at home idle, but they're using their mind to be creative.
And I also think the manufacturing companies need to come in and buy this idea, because I don't want to say that they are the biggest contributors of environmental degradation, but I think whatever the manufacturers, whatever they have seen the youths do, and whatever that woman is doing, coming up with very beautiful structures, I think they need to chip in and support them in as much as they are making income and help conserve our environment.
But just on a bad note, on the side now of the youths in Kibera, these guys were telling me that, first of all, before we actually went there, they had built that house to halfway, and it was only remaining like 2 weeks for them to be done. But then the authorities actually came and destroyed their houses.
Yes, thank you so much, Zainab, for that story, and Mwangi Maina for that story. It's good to know that we still have positive stories amid, you know, all the negativity, all the chaos. So thank you so much, Zainab and Mwangi. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with sports news. Welcome back. Let's get to sports news. Now, youth in Makueni County have been asked to explore means of embracing sporting activities despite the biting COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Kikumbulyu Northward MCA Isaac Munyao says the pandemic is not an opportunity for the youth indulging in drug and substance abuse.
Ni jukumu langu kama mwenyekiti na ni ombi langu katika county government ya Makueni ili waweze kuzingatia hawa watoto ili waweze kuingizwa katika michezo. Hapo awali tumeona county government ya Makueni ikisupporti hawa watoto sana, sababu katika Makueni County tuko na Paralympics ambayo uchezwa na hawa watoto ambao wako na disability, na pia tuko na sitting volleyball ambayo hawa watu wameweza kucheza mpaka hata nchi za nje.
And Chelsea manager Frank Lampard remains of the bulletin. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time. My name is Mombi Chege. Our sign language interpreter is Anne Wairimo. I'll leave you with the weather forecast. Have a good night.
Welcome any comments, queries or complaints regarding our programming content. You can get in touch with us on 0768095491 or send us a message on 22047. You can also send us